Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Living with the Times. This week is Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day. This is the day that in the Six-Day War, Jerusalem was liberated and united after 2,000 years. It is a very, very special day, and it is celebrated with what's called the March of the Flags, where tens of thousands of people march through Yerushalayim with Israeli flags and march down to the Kotel and celebrate the unification of the eternal capital of Israel. Every year, this day occurs on the same day as the yurtzeit of Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet. And that day is the 28th day of Iyar. Now there's a very deep connection between Shmuel HaNavi and Jerusalem. And the fact that the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, was reunited after 2,000 years on the very day that Shmuel leaves this world is significant for the following reason. First of all, it was Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet, who anointed King David. And King David was the one who originally conquered Jerusalem and made it the eternal capital of Israel to this day, 3,000 years ago. But not only did Shmuel anoint King David as king, but according to the Talmud, in the Torah, it says that the temple would be in the place that God would set his name. But it doesn't say exactly where the temple would be built. And Shmuel HaNavi and King David, through understanding various verses in the Torah, understanding the history of Jerusalem and previous generations that had been in Jerusalem, including Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. All of them were on the Temple Mount, and they identified it for all generations. They set where the Temple Mount would be, and then David envisioned building a temple. It was left to his son Solomon to actually build it. So here we see the 28th of Iyar brings together the spirit of Shmuel HaNavi and the unification of Jerusalem. But according to tradition, another significant event happened on the 28th of Iyar, and that was in the book of the book of Shemot. It's explained how after we came out of Egypt, even before we got to Har Sinai, we fought with Amalek. Amalek is the arch enemy of the Jewish people. And according to tradition, that battle was on the 28th of Iyar. Now, this is connected to Shmuel HaNavi also, because the reason that he anoints King David, first, Shmuel HaNavi anointed the first king, King Saul, Shaul HaMelech. But he was commanded to fight a war with Amalek. And despite God's instructions, Shaul left the king alive, Agag. And according to tradition, from Agag comes Haman HaAgagi. And he was the living example of Amalek in his generation. He wanted to destroy all the Jews. And of course, he did not succeed, and we have the holiday of Purim. And because Shaul did not listen to God's instructions, God sent Shmuel to tell him that he was taking the kingship away from him. And in the process, he brings Agag out and he personally kills him. So we see all of these things come together in the 28th of Iyar. Now the 28th of Iyar is the 43rd day of the Omer. And there's great significance to this also because Yom Yerushalayim comes out virtually every year in the Parsha of Bamidbar. We're starting a new book, Bamidbar, in the desert. And we're told that there was a census and instructions of how to camp in the desert and the preparations for marching to Israel and the initial formation of the army that would conquer Israel. And we're told that each of the tribes had a flag. And the Midrash tells us that at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, when the Torah was given, angels came and they put crowns on the heads of every Jew because we said Na'aseh v'nishma. They put 2 crowns on everyone's head. We will do and we will hear. But the Midrash says also that they came with flags. And Israel saw these flags and were very inspired by these flags. And they said, we also want flags. So God said, you want flags? I'll give you flags. In the desert, each of the tribes camped by their flag. They had a color, an insignia, and had great symbolic importance. But the question is, what do these flags represent? So we know that an angel is defined by their particular purpose. An angel will have one purpose at a time. Here they were coming to put the crowns on the heads of all of Israel. And their flags represented the idea of purpose, of significance. That's what turned on the Jewish people to these flags. Not because they were flashy and neat and colorful, but because they could see that these flags that the angels had represented a focused purpose. And so that's what they said. We also want flags. This idea of having purpose in one's life, having mission in one's life. And we know that at the giving of the Torah, God gave us a mission for all eternity, to live by the Torah and, in essence, to bring the Torah to the whole world and to create a just and compassionate society that would become the example for all of humanity. So going back to, why on Yom Yerushalayim are there marches with flags? So as we said, the simple understanding is that it represents the purpose of the Jewish people. So in Hebrew, the word for flag is degel. Degel equals 32. It equals 37 and equals ha-lev, the heart. But in the Parsha, it says that each tribe will camp by their flag, dig low, their flag. Dig low is gematria 43. So if we put these two gematrias together of degel equals the heart, and Diglo, their flag, equals 43, the 43rd day of the Omer. We see that and so many people in different speeches about Jerusalem always refer to Jerusalem as the heart of the Jewish people, which is a very poetic thing to say, but it's very true. Even in the national anthem, the Hatikva, it ends with the word Jerusalem. That after 2,000 years, our dream was to be a free nation in Sion Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim is our degel, is our flag. It represents the purpose of the Jewish people. And the fact that we camp by the flag, Diglo, is the 43rd day of the Omer. So when we put it all together, Jerusalem truly is the heart of the Jewish people. For 2,000 years, in every prayer, every Amidah, we prayed to be able to come back to Jerusalem. Every time we say grace after meals, we mention Jerusalem. Every time someone gets married, we break a glass to remember the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. So this week is Yom Yerushalayim, and despite the current war that we're going through, and it's really the same war with Amalek, the same war that we fought in the desert when we came out of Egypt, the same war that Shmuel and Navi had to personally kill the king of Agag. And now again we are fighting with the same forces of Amalek that are determined to destroy us. But just like we were successful then, we will be successful again. And we are in Israel forever. And we are in Yerushalayim, our eternal capital, forever.